Let's get right into it. Game of Thrones Season 3. Let's talk. Jaime Lannister, Season 3 of Game of Thrones, is aka The Walking Dead comic book Rick Grimes. That is who he is. Exactly. Listen, this teaming up between Brienne of Tarth and Jaime Lannister, you guys know I absolutely love it. I love the character development that it spawns out of just them being on the road. I love how they even fought on the bridge, given he was worn out. He's been a prisoner for a year, in case you forgot. I believe it's been about a year. You know, he's still tied up. I believe he has his hands tied. I like that aspect that they got to fight. And then the scene came where the Boltons take them, and I did not expect this coming at all. I mean, I know people post spoilers, but nobody posted that he lost his hand. But the way they did it, and how it looked on screen, as a Walking Dead comic book fan, it screamed comic book Rick Grimes. Jaime Lannister gets this Bolton guy, I completely forget his name, one of the Boltons, not to rape Brienne of Tarth. And because of that, the guy's pissed off, irritated, or whatever. He takes Jaime Lannister and he sets him down. He threatens him with a knife in his eye. And he's going to walk away. And he's like, well, let's leave you with something you don't forget. Something like that. And he just comes crashing down this huge-ass knife. And he chops his arm off. And Jaime looks over it and just yells at it. And Jaime now has the scruff grown in, hair grown in. And in the comic, Rick has that dirty brown, dirty blondish kind of hair. Looks identical to Jaime. And then once they cut his hand off, they do the same thing. Obviously, they do it Rick Grimes in the comic book, is they wrap his hand up. Which, I'm telling you what, as a comic book fan, especially a huge Walking Dead fan, it looked identical to the comic book Rick Grimes. Take a look at that scene again. I mean, they're even standing on the same exact spots. They even look identical to each character. It is crazy. I'm not saying anyone copied off anyone, but that's just cool. It's so fucking cool. I don't know why I like that a lot, but I did. I love that a lot. But later on, in another cool scene where he actually comes back to save Brienne from being eaten by a bear, this shows you why they most likely do not like chopping off the hand of a main character. Because as he's crawling up, if you'll notice, go ahead and rewatch it, he uses his chopped off hand and he actually grabs onto the wall here. You can see both hands. It's only on the screen for a split second. A lot of people talk about why they don't want to do that for the main character. It's because of shit like that. They have to cover it up. And in the Game of Thrones, how they're doing that now is they give him now this, oh my god, the Happy Gilmore hand. He's got a gold Happy Gilmore hand. What was his name? Chubbs? If you guys ever seen Happy Gilmore, where he's got that ridiculously oversized hand that obviously goes over his regular hand. Well, I didn't even think about that till now, but yeah, Jaime Lannister has the gold Happy Gilmore hand. I believe it's Chubbs. He has Chubbs' hand. I like that. Well, one thing they did do that kind of stood out, sometimes they do it a little bit theatrical when they're filming their scenes. For example, in A Red Wedding, the end of that is definitely a little more theatrical, but it works, so it's fine. However, one of the most powerful scenes with Jaime Lannister in the pool, or that bathwater, he's in there with Brienne too, and he's telling the backstory, and you can see the pain, the anguish, the regret. You could see all of that in the actor's eyes, and it was a very powerful and moving scene, and it gave us some backstory on why they call him the Kingslayer, and it completely changes your view of this guy. Other than he's banging his own sister, I mean, he's like an awesome character. The only bad thing is they have him do something really stupid, which is kill his cousin. Yeah, I didn't get that. What was it, in season 1 or 2? Was it 2? He kills his cousin. They have a real intimate speech, and he kills his cousin to get out of jail, which I never got that, because I thought they were going to show us how he's just a cold, calculated killer. One minute he's like, yeah, sharing a nice heartfelt thing with family, and he's like, you can help me escape. All you have to do is die. And then he kills him, you know? lays him on the ground, and the guard comes, and the guard sees him on the ground, and the guard's like, well, I'm gonna have to open this door and see what's going on. And then he kills the guard. Well, my question is, couldn't he have just told his cousin, hey, play dead? Or, hey, let me bust you in the nose. Lay down and have that blood go all over the place. When they come in, we're gonna kill him, and we're gonna get out of here. Why in the shit did they just have him kill the guy? It did not make sense. Didn't make any sense. But anyway, besides the fact that he's banging his sister and he killed his cousin, which I felt that was completely poorly written for that character. I don't know. To me, I just thought that was nonsense. But he gives this speech, and you love him even more, because now you get his backstory on the Kingslayer ship. But then he gives out, because he's weak, he hasn't eaten, he lost a lot of blood, he's in hot water, and he falls down, all dramatic like, theatrical like. She grabs him and she yells, Kingslayer! And he looks up, as weak as he can, but still he musters out, my name is Jaime. And it's like, that's the bonding moment. But it was it was done so theatrical. I thought I was ripped out of a gripping TV show and plopped down on, Broadway or something. Well, I've never been to a Broadway play, but it just felt like a play. I was like, wait, what is this shit? What are you guys doing? I loved it anyway. It wasn't that big of a deal, but if somebody makes fun of that for being a little more theatrical than it should have been, yeah, you got points. You got that, but I still liked it. Now, I also do want to highlight something that I find important with the story and the characters, and it has to deal with Jaime losing his hand. And I will be talking about another show as a perfect example. Now, I hate talking about two completely different shows in a review. So I just want to put this warning out there. I personally do not think you could take two shows from different genres and compare them. I won't go into how stupid I think it is, but one of the things I definitely could not stand is when people compared The Walking Dead, which is a zombie apocalypse, to a show like Breaking Bad. Two completely different genres, and it's one conversation I will never personally be involved in. The same goes for Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead. They're completely different genres. No matter how anyone wants to try to compare the two. Makes no sense to me. But I will be talking about The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones as far as Jaime's hand is concerned, because I think this is something that is very interesting. Now, if you took The Walking Dead, for example, in the comic book, Rick Grimes, as we had just discussed, he lost his hand to the governor. Now, it was pretty much done for shock value, and it was pretty much done for the story to show that nobody is safe, not even the main character. And he was maimed in a way that affects his abilities to protect himself and his family later on in the story. So it does affect the story in that aspect. However, they decided not to do that in the TV show, which was a very smart move, I thought, because it didn't really belong in the story, and it doesn't really positively affect the character development and the story going forward. I feel it negatively affects that. But with the Game of Thrones, I support Jaime losing his hand, and I think it is pivotal to his character development. And this is one of the parts of the Game of Thrones that I absolutely loved, and it drew me in. It was incredible how this one scene affected me and my connection to this character. This is a character I thought was a dickhead in Season 1. He was a rich, spoiled piece of shit, cocky, banging his sister. These are all the words that I would describe Jaime in Season 1. But he had a charisma to him, the character and the actor. Now we strip Jaime of all of his wealth and power, charisma and charm. You throw him in a prison, you keep him pretty much locked away almost all throughout Season 2, and he gets little moments to shine, and you start to let your guard down, so to speak, and don't look too harshly at this character. Then what happens in Season 3 is he gets his arm chopped off. Now this is pivotal because his arm is who Jaime Lannister was. He was a fighter. He was one of the best swordsmen, in my eyes, as far as the way I understand the story, in the world of the Game of Thrones. He was one of the best. I don't know other characters in this world that they haven't showed us yet. I really don't even know other characters they have showed us and their skill level with the sword. I just know he is one of the best. He lost what made him Jaime Lannister, which was his sword hand, so to speak. Now that he lost that, he is reborn. He is a new man. He is still the man who, technically, he's still one of the best swordsmen, but he's not. That aspect I love. He is still that same man who was one of the greatest with a sword, but he lost his hand that made him one of the greatest. See what I'm saying? It's such a critical piece to his character development. And I thought it was a great move. It was a risky move, doing it technically, having to fill that. And I know I make fun of it being Chubbs, but I'm just poking fun. You know what I mean? Like that, and that's what I like doing with TV shows. If we can poke fun at little things, whatever. But I really like Game of Thrones. It's really drawing me in, and it's nice to be able to pinpoint some things that stand out to me. You know, it might seem a little negative, but it's really not. It's just pointing out funny things. If you can't have fun with a TV show, you got to stick up your ass. You know, there's something fucking wrong with you. But the Jaime Lannister and losing his hand is probably the most critical thing in Season 3 that really connected me to a character and to a story because of the effects it has from this point on. Not only with that character and his development and dealing with that, not only dealing with the loss, but he has to grow stronger now or die. That's just the way it goes. Now, we're going to have to deal with him, his family. What are they going to say? How are they going to look at him? Are they going to be pissed off at the Boltons for his maiming? I mean, you have to deal with the consequences of that situation. There's all these other variables that are floating around out there. Now, some of them might not come into play, and some of them might come into play. But Jaime losing his hand, I know I'm going around in circles, but I just want to put it out there that that was a great choice for them to do creatively, and it was great for his character development. It was a very surprising scene. I was caught off guard. I was probably shocked more with Jaime losing his hand than I was with the Red Wedding. No, I was completely 100%, 10 times more shocked with him losing his hand. But that was only because everyone blew up the Red Wedding before I got to it, which it's not a big deal. You know, it's the internet. What are you going to do, you know? But yeah, that did it for me. That was absolutely amazing. Loved it. Jaime losing his hand, one of the best parts of Season 3. And I know it seems like it's something small, but it's like throwing a rock in a pond. It has so many rippling effects, and I love that. Next, the Red Wedding.